year on the big handstand walk event. I expect him to do very, very well. He's going to move fast on the yoke. He's slightly larger, so the rope climb may slow him down. We'll wait and see. I also think David Sharonki, Lucas are going to perform really well. So, you know, this is anyone's game at this point. I think it's going to be fast and furious. And, you know, I think that 9 minutes I thought was going to be the record pace. I could be way off there. And we could see sort of 2-minute rounds, 2:15 rounds from these other athletes.
Well, we'll keep a tight eye on this and see who is going to potentially lead this out and make the mark on the overall score for this event. So I think, look, we know that the overall rankings for this right now, that Matt Fraser has got a very healthy lead, but the places below that, and our favourite term, the golden ticket for the Games invitation, that is up for grabs, right? And James, you've got athletes there you can see who it's just tempting them. It's sitting there. They know it's within grabs.
Yeah, I mean, Andre Houdet is coached by Phil, so he's one of our athletes, so I'm slightly biased going into this, so I hope I can see him on screen. Good movements for him, but yeah, like, it's his 15-minute workout. There's a long way to go. We saw the effect of how the skill can break down even when the athletes got the skill. So yeah, Andre's been working hard with us for the last 9 months, and he's come on in leaps and bounds, and he's having a great time this weekend.
And speaking of which, Andre is neck and neck with Fraser at this moment in time. So the race is on. Andre, Lucas and Matt all head-to-head.
Lucas Hogberg knows what he needs to do. Lucas Hogberg is the man currently in pole position for that Games invitation. You can see the little race, the head-to-head there. Nobody wants to lose, just that's the first yoke carry, so maybe that's a sign of things to come in this workout.
You notice how Matt, I think, was very quick to get back on the rope. He wants to show to Lucas that this is his jam and this is his race, and he's going to dictate the pace. So I think perhaps a little bit of playing with Lucas's brain there, saying, look, mate, back off. But Andre, again, flying up the rope as well. Very, very impressed with Andre. And it looks like he's going to be hitting the floor at the same time as Matt.
So Lucas lost a bit of time on that rope climb. So Lucas is now at the top of his 3rd rope climb. But it looks like he might have had a no rep there and had to go back down. So here's Matt leading it out. So that little, maybe that little shot from Lucas has charged his effort. And look at Andre. Andre is now going back. There's Lucas going back for his handstand walk, and he'll make his way back for the 2nd set of rope climbs and the next set of 12-meter on that handstand. So Matt's maybe not going to have it all his own way.
Probably. I mean, you saw as we were talking, as Ben was saying there about Matt changing up the pace, you saw Lucas actually look over at Matt. Matt's not looking at Lucas at all. He knows, this is what makes him so great. He knows exactly where he is in the race and where other people are, and how to manipulate them and draw them into a little sprint when they don't need to be.
And is that the advantage of being 4 times Games champion, knowing that he has that, he knows where his limits are, and to be honest, Matt Fraser doesn't have many limits, but he knows he can trust his technique, his skill, his strength, his power to take him through pretty much any workout that's put in front of him.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, he's...
Look at that face.
Like, he's just... He loves to compete. Like, there's a... You get in training, like, I'm from a football background, played professional football till I was 20, and you had people in training who were the best in the world in training, but going out and putting it together in a game on game day is completely different, and Matt's got both.
Yeah, he absolutely is. Big game day hitter and also a competitor. Speaking of competitors,
David Sharonki is coming up to take on Lucas Hogberg here in round 2.
And David is hungry for the fight.
And
so
he sure is.
He's now passing Lucas. Let's see if he can hold on these rope climbs.
Andre has got ahead of both of those athletes. So James's man here is doing him proud and is making his move for his invitation. We know that Andre is going to the Games as part of the team. He's there, but he is looking for that individual slot. And we've heard some lovely words from him afterwards in terms of he has got the inspiration of his brother and his sister as well, moving him, driving him on. That must help you as well in trying to sort of direct his motivation a little bit as well. Do you find that is a great motivator for him that sometimes needs some managing too?
Like, I mean, Phil does all of that Andre's kind of stuff, so he'd probably better to ask on those kind of things. But yeah, he's very focused. It's been a big part of his a big goal for a long time for him, and he's made huge gains over these last 9 months. And this weekend, he's just walking around like a Cheshire cat. You know, you talked about that pressure. He is just like, I'm throwing down with Matt Fraser, and he's
going toe-to-toe
with him. Matt's a little bit in front, but like I say, he didn't dream going into this, but he will be looking to his left and seeing Matt Fraser being the only person in front of him. So yeah, the boy's having a great time.
And looking to the floor right now, David Sharonki has now put himself ahead of Lucas Högberg. So if he can put a space between him and Lucas, he will be closing that gap. And Andre, with his performance, Dave Sharonki is marginally ahead of Andre. So this race for that Games Invitational slot is massive, because the one name we haven't mentioned in this workout so far is the Greek athlete Georgios Karavis, who is just behind Lucas. So it feels like there's going to be a bit of a concertina effect, that the results here are going to close the gap between all four of those athletes looking for that prime invitation.
And as I said earlier, you know, this is what we want as spectators, the final workout of the weekend. A few points between it means they're going to have to go all out and put on a show for us, and that's exactly what we want.
So actually, as we look at the standings going into this workout, Matt Fraser is ahead on 312 points, Lucas Högberg there on 305, and then it's the next athletes, Georgios Karavis 271, Andre Ude 242, David Sharonki 240, and Nikolai Buladal, Will Murad, Bronislav Alenkovic are all there around the 230 mark. So we know there's nothing in it. We know that this is all to fight for with an event and a half to go. Matt Fraser is obviously the man to beat. He's leading this out, looking very, very strong. Be interested to see how close Matt gets to the 9:04 mark from the previous heat. It feels like it's going to be quite close to that mark, Ben.
Yeah, it is actually. Looking at it, you can see now Matt is slightly taken down his cadence when it comes to rep speed in terms of how fast he's back up the rope. Still similar speed on the handstand walk, and perhaps he's conscious that he just needs to catch his breath before going up that going onto his hands. So he's just easing off on the rope climb and seeing that as his sort of chance to rest. Looking like he's going to go back for his final set of rope climbs and handstand walk, and then he's going to be on the yoke. So, you know, we could actually see a number of athletes coming in between Lucas and the top spot, and it's really going to shake up that leaderboard. Andre also on his, looking like he's going to jump onto his final set of handstand walk.
But that winning time of Katulis in the previous heat of 9:04, I think that could be there up towards the top of the scoreboard at the end of it, James. Do you think that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, it's gonna. That's the thing with the men. The density of these competitions, the density of the field means that people in the lower heats can take points off the people at the top. So yeah, it makes it an exciting finish.
So this is Matt Fraser then on his last set of handstand walks. We're looking at Andre Ude. He's had to take a break there from his handstand walk. David Sharonki has gone past him. So here's Matt Fraser, sprint to the finish, 26 seconds. He will potentially get ahead of Katulis' score. It looks like,
he's at the break.
A little break there. Is that going to slow him down?
I think he's
going to get there. He's going to get there. 8:54. Wow. Well done to him. He is so happy. Well done to him. 10 seconds. But credit to Alex Katulis for that 9:04. That is going to secure Katulis second place in this event. So great effort from him in the previous heat. Matt Fraser looks gassed.
Look at his face. He worked for that, and I don't think it's all that often that you see Matt Fraser having to sprint for an entire workout.
But here's David Sharonki in second place in this heat. He is pushing for the third place overall. So he's onto his final yoke carry. He's got approximately 26 seconds to play with. The second best score in heat number 3 was 9:56. So Sharonki is on the sprint. Looks like Sharonki might be securing third place overall. Well done to him. 9:41. That
Yes,
could
David.
be huge for him, especially on the move against Andre Ude. Look at him slamming down his belt. Ude's now struggling a little bit with these handstand walks. He's into his final round, but this handstand is just maybe biting back on him, James. And when that happens, it's hard to get yourself back into the game, right?
And sorry to interrupt, but
There's
Bronislav
We haven't
storming
spoken
through.
about him, and there he is. Bronislav Alenkovic, another big finish, 10:08.
Yeah, it is tough to go to bring it back, but we knew going into today that it was going to be fight, and Andre's got to leave it all on the floor, and he's done that. He's putting
fighting
it in.
hard. You can
he's
see
fighting
him there.
hard, and yeah, we're proud of him.
In lane number 1 here, we've got Nikolai Biladal crossing the line in 10:30. So there's some gaps forming here in this, and actually just inside Andre is Georgios Karavis. So the two of them, here comes Andre on his final push. If he can get under 11 minutes, he has given himself a great chance of scoring some big points to push his case for this elusive invitation to the Games. Here we go. Is he going to break 11 minutes? He is just about. He is there. Well done to Andre. You've got to be proud of that effort from Andre there.
And
Absolutely,
still in the background, we've still got Lucas working away on his
Lucas
final.
knows he's got to get a sprint in here. He knows he is fighting for his points and fighting for this second place, which is so crucial to his chances.
And I tell you what, I cannot wait to see this leaderboard and the overall standings.
I can't wait for the final workout. It's going to be quick. There's going to be drama in that final workout.
Wow.
So here's Will Murad making his final push for the line. 11:35, 11:36. Well done to Will.
And you just see how much this workout is taking out of these athletes. They're all crumbling to their knees when they've finished on the yoke. And I think, you know, on the paper, you don't realise how cardiovascularly challenging these movements are, James.
Yeah, I mean, having 250 kilos on your shoulders is going to compress your spine. You're going to be bent forward slightly, which is going to limit your lung capacity and the amount of air you can take in, which is where it begins to catch up with you later in the workout.
And here's Georgios Karavis now moving back. You can just see there in the background, Zach George is also out there, but this is Georgios pushing for his final yoke carry. Let's see what time he can get and what impact he can make on the scoreboard. But you can hear the crowd going nuts for both Georgios and Zach. It's 2.5 minutes left on the clock, so can Georgios break 12:45? We shall see.
And Zach still seems to be on his. He's just about to go on to his
Well done, Georgios
fourth
Karavis.
round. So Zach is a little bit off the pace here. Perhaps it's the handstand walk that he's been struggling with. I know he...
Far end of the floor, Marcus Ericsson is also on. Looks like he's going through the completion of the third round. Zach looks in pain.
Yeah, that grimace is a serious load through the body.
You can see Dave Sharonki in the background cheering him on, cheering his countrymen on there. Zach has qualified for the Games as national champion, so he's already secured his place at the Games. And what does that do for an athlete in terms of that sense of knowing you've got that spot and the confidence it can give you?
Well, it's giving you confidence, but it's also, I mean, we don't know where he is training now. Like Sam Briggs, Emma and Elliot, they've all been on a down period for us, so they're not particularly in great shape, competition shape right now. Whereas, so I couldn't comment on how Zach is. He's obviously achieved what his goal was, which is going to the Games, and it's awesome that we got 2 UK males there. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting season. But how much does he weigh?
I think he's around the 98 kilo mark.
98 kilos, upper rope 24, my maths, 24 times.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And upside down, like you say, it favours him on a yoke, but the sways on the gymnastics here, and at 98 kilos, that's a lot of work.
And James, that's a really good point you've made there, is that because the season is much longer now, you may just choose to target one part of it, and then you go into a sort of almost off season. And we see on Zach's social that, you know, he's obviously qualified through the Open. He's done a number of competitions in between that, and it may be that he's, you know, just using this as competition experience, not necessarily wanting to peak for it and just see it as a sort of almost training simulation weekend.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that with Matt. Like, Matt looked gassed. When does Matt look gassed at the games? He doesn't. He's peaked for the games. He knows how to do it, and he times it perfectly. So that's the evidence of competing. There's the science element of it, and outside looking in, you don't know where they are in training. Social media, how true is social media?
Social media can be very deceptive, right? You
Exactly.
never know how hard an athlete is working. And interesting, when Sam was in here, she was telling us she's been back training officially for 2 weeks, but she said she's not putting herself under pressure. This is about building to the games. She's obviously going over to Wodapalooza in a couple of weeks' time. She'll take that work on as part of the team, and that will be part of her preparation. So I imagine for Zach, he's maybe, as we said, maybe looking for a bit of competition just to see where he is and to get his body right for the full-on attack